She asked the detectives for permission to speak. Just one sentence. One. That is all she wanted. After 20 rounds from an AR-15. After driving coast to coast with a disguise and extra magazines. She sat across from law enforcement and asked, "Can I say one sentence?" And what came out of her mouth is the single most chilling line in any criminal case this year. But we are not starting there. Not yet. Because what nobody is telling you about this story is how many people were supposed to stop this before it ever reached that driveway. How many systems failed. How many red flags got buried. And how close we came to waking up to a headline that would have broken the entire internet in half. Y'all, buckle up. Because by the time you understand the full scope of what happened on Heather Road, you're going to look at every institution that was supposed to protect us and realize the whole thing was theater. Every single guardrail. Performance. And if you are new here, drop a subscribe right now because this case has a court date coming and I am covering every single development as it unfolds. You are going to want to be here for what comes next. Let me set the scene, but not the way you have heard it before. Paris, late March 2026. A woman in burgundy slacks and a red sweater vest walks into Siena, an upscale Italian restaurant in the heart of the city. Yellow Dior purse on her arm. Two little boys beside her. Her mother across the table. A man in a black trench coat holding her hand. And surrounding all of them, 6 bodyguards forming a perimeter so tight you would think they were escorting a sitting president through hostile territory. The woman does not linger. Does not stop for photos. Does not pose. She moves like someone who knows what it feels like to be hunted. That woman is Rihanna. And exactly 3 weeks before that quiet dinner in Paris, she was standing inside an Airstream trailer parked in her own driveway in Los Angeles when she heard what her brain processed as metal banging. 10 loud sounds. Her first instinct was not fear. It was confusion. Because when you live in an 8-figure neighborhood behind iron gates with security cameras covering every angle, your mind does not jump to someone is trying to kill me. It jumps to construction noise. Maybe a car backfired down the hill. Something mundane. Something your brain can file away and forget. But then she pulled back the curtain. And the bullet holes were right there, staring at her through the windshield. Directly in front of where her face had been standing seconds earlier. Inches. That is the distance we are talking about. Between one of the most iconic women on the planet and a body bag. Now hold that image. Because I need to tell you something about that Airstream trailer that is going to completely reframe how you understand what happened that afternoon. That trailer is a recreational vehicle, built for camping weekends and family road trips. Riveted aluminum panels designed to withstand rain and highway wind. Not weaponry. Not 20 rounds from a Springfield Armory AR-15 style rifle fired in broad daylight on a Sunday afternoon. 3 separate impacts struck the windshield and body of the trailer. And not a single round punched through. Engineers who have examined Airstream construction confirm these trailers are absolutely not designed to function as ballistic shields. If the angle had shifted by a few degrees, if the ammunition had been a different grain weight, if even one of those 20 rounds had found its way inside, there is no version of the physics where Rihanna and A$AP Rocky survive full penetration at that range. None. A camping trailer, built for road trips, accidentally became the only barrier between 2 of the most famous people on Earth and a mass casualty event. That is the razor-thin margin this story balances on. And that should terrify you. Now, the woman who pulled that trigger. Y'all, stop scrolling. I need your full attention right here. Because the deeper you dig into her background, the less this looks like a random act of violence, and the more it looks like a slow-motion catastrophe that was building in plain sight, while every single person and system that should have intervened looked the other way. I am about to walk you through every single layer. And before we go further, understand this. This is not just a celebrity shooting story. This is a full-blown case study in how every guardrail meant to protect society from targeted violence can fail simultaneously. And what happens when they do? We need to rewind, not to the shooting, much further back. And what I am about to show you is a paper trail so disturbing it will make you question how any of this was allowed to happen. Orlando, Florida. Ivanna Ortiz, 35 years old, licensed speech-language pathologist. And not just in one state. She was dual licensed in both Florida and California. She worked with real patients, people with speech disorders, communication difficulties, developmental delays, children who needed help. On paper, in a job interview, at a school meeting, this woman would have appeared completely unremarkable. Educated, employed, state certified to provide medical services to some of the most vulnerable populations. The kind of professional you would trust with your child's therapy without a second thought. Now hold that image in your mind. Burn it in. Because what I am about to tell you is going to shatter it into pieces so small you will never be able to put it back together. Her marriage to Jed Nico Valdez Sengalang did not end quietly. It did not fade. It detonated. The divorce spiraled from ugly to contentious to genuinely dangerous. Ortiz was arrested for domestic violence and battery against Sengalang. An arrest affidavit detailed a text message she sent him before a custody exchange, and I need you to hear the exact words because they matter. Quote, "You will be socked in the nose tonight." End quote. Cell phone video from that same incident captured her using a homophobic slur. This was not someone struggling silently behind closed doors. This was volatility that had already crossed the threshold into documented criminal conduct. But that is just the beginning. Because before 2023, Ortiz was involuntarily committed under Florida's Baker Act. For those who do not know, the Baker Act allows a person to be placed in a psychiatric facility for up to 72 hours without their consent if they are deemed a danger to themselves or to others. That is a high bar. You do not get Baker Acted because you are having a rough week or feeling stressed. You get Baker Acted because the people around you are genuinely afraid of what you are about to do. Then a Florida family court judge made a decision that speaks volumes about the severity of what was happening. The judge stripped her of custody entirely. Full physical custody of her 10-year-old child was awarded to Sengalang. Ortiz was barred from all contact. Not supervised visitation. Not reduced weekends. All contact. Phone calls. Video chats. Text messages. Emails. Everything. A judge looked at the totality of the evidence and decided the safest amount of access this woman should have to her own child was 0. Let that sit for a moment. Really sit with it. Because family courts in America bend over backwards to maintain parental contact. Judges exhaust every option before they go to 0. The fact that this court went to absolute 0 contact tells you something catastrophic was happening behind closed doors that we still do not have full visibility on. Something happened in that courtroom, in those hearings, in those records, that convinced a judge an absolute wall was necessary. In December 2025, Ortiz filed an appeal to overturn that custody order. The appeal was still pending on the day she loaded an AR-15 into her white Tesla and pointed it toward California. Think about that timeline carefully. She was simultaneously appealing for the right to see her child and planning an attack that would guarantee she never would. Now here is where the story takes the turn that should genuinely frighten every single person watching this video right now. Because it is one thing for someone to unravel mentally. That happens. It is tragic and it is human. It is entirely another thing for that unraveling to crystallize around a specific named target. And it is something beyond that for the person to acquire a military-style weapon, assemble ammunition, prepare a disguise, and execute a 2,400-mile cross-country mission to act on that fixation. Security experts describe this as the pathway to targeted violence. An escalation ladder with identifiable stages. Ivanna Ortiz climbed every single rung of that ladder in full public view while the entire world watched and nobody intervened. Court documents revealed an email she sent to her ex-husband on January 26, 2026, 6 weeks before 20 rounds hit Rihanna'S front gate. And I need you to hear every word of this. Quote, "I need you to renounce Rihanna and confess that I am better than her. Let it be done. You gotta let me know so that door can be closed." End quote. Y'all, that sentence is the entire case compressed into 40 words. It is the Rosetta Stone of this tragedy. That email is the bridge between a woman losing her grip on reality and a woman loading a rifle. Because at some point, somewhere in the devastation of her failed marriage, the unbearable pain of being completely severed from her child, and the total collapse of whatever psychological framework had been keeping her functional, Ivanna Ortiz decided that Rihanna, a woman she had never met, never spoken to, never been in the same room with, never exchanged a single syllable with in her entire life, was the source of everything wrong. Not her own documented violence. Not the psychiatric commitment. Not the court findings. Rihanna. A stranger on a screen became the architect of all her suffering in a delusional framework that exists nowhere outside her own fracturing mind. And the social media trail she left in the weeks leading up to the shooting reads like a countdown clock that absolutely nobody was watching. On February 23rd, she tagged Rihanna'S Instagram directly. Quote, "Are you there? Because I was waiting for your AIDS 5-head self to say something to me directly instead of sneaking around like you talking to me where I am not at." End quote. That was posted publicly for the entire internet to see. January 4th, a video. Ortiz staring directly into her phone camera and addressing Rihanna by name. "Listen, Rihanna, when you die, God is taking me to my future. She wants to kill me." She called Rihanna a witch, called herself a watchman. "Get that stupid girl out of here." And it was not just Rihanna she fixated on. In another video, this time wearing a blonde wig and American flag shorts, she addressed Cardi B directly. "You cannot mess with me, Cardi B." Multiple celebrities pulled into a delusional conspiracy where famous women were supposedly working together against her for reasons that have no basis in any observable reality. Zero evidence of any contact between Rihanna and Ivanna Ortiz. Ever. In any form. Not a DM. Not a comment. Not a like. Not a passing mention. Two human beings existing on entirely different planes of reality, connected by nothing except the delusional architecture of one woman's disintegrating mind. And when Rihanna finally sat down with detectives after the shooting, what she told them is genuinely haunting. She told them she had received death threats on social media before. Some stalkers. She had even sought restraining orders in the past. But most threats never rose to a level that felt genuinely dangerous. No recent event connected to this. This came from absolutely nowhere in her world. She did not know Ivanna Ortiz existed, had never heard the name. And this woman drove 2,400 miles across 8 states to try to kill her. Now, the question that should be dominating every conversation about this case, and somehow is not. How? How did a woman with a Baker Act psychiatric commitment on her record, a domestic violence arrest, a court order stripping her of all parental access because she was deemed that dangerous, and weeks of escalating public threats aimed at named celebrities legally purchase an AR-15 rifle? Court records confirm the weapon was legally owned. The federal background check system either could not flag any of this or simply did not. The Baker Act, the DV arrest, the custody ruling, weeks of unhinged public posts. None of it created a single barrier between this woman and a semi-automatic rifle capable of firing 30 rounds in seconds. And how did she drive 34 hours across Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California with that weapon and additional ammunition in her trunk and never encounter a single checkpoint, a single stop, a single question? She crossed the entire continental United States carrying enough firepower for a mass casualty event and arrived at her destination completely undisturbed. And every social media platform that markets itself on AI-powered content moderation and threat detection capabilities, Ortiz was posting public threats, tagging celebrities by name, naming targets, escalating her rhetoric for weeks. Where was the algorithm? Where was the flag? Where was the automated intervention these companies promise advertisers they can deliver? Every guardrail failed. Not one. All of them. And the result was 20 rifle rounds fired into a property where 3 children under the age of 4 were sleeping. March 8, 2026. A Sunday. Beverly Crest. The neighborhood sits above Beverly Hills like a crown. No sidewalks. No foot traffic. Streets that wind through old money silence. Driveways hidden behind iron gates and century-old trees. You do not accidentally wander into Beverly Crest. If you are on Heather Road, you chose to be there. A white Tesla, crawling through the curves. A woman behind the wheel wearing a blonde wig. Driving slowly, scanning house numbers like she was reading a menu. She found it. A gated property. A $13.8 million mansion. Home of Robin Rihanna Finney. Inside the Airstream in the driveway, Rihanna was awake. Rocky was asleep. Their 3 children, RZA, Riot, and baby Rocky, were in the main house with Rihanna's mother Monica and 2 staff members. 2 people in the neighboring home going about their Sunday. 10 live seconds from becoming entries on a criminal complaint. 1:21 p.m. The silence of Heather Road was erased forever. 20 rounds. Prosecution confirmed that number at arraignment. Bullets hit the iron gate. The Airstream. 3 impacts on the windshield and side panel. Stray rounds reached the neighboring property, putting 2 additional people at risk who had nothing to do with anything. Rihanna grabbed Rocky out of bed. His account to police is visceral. He woke to the sound of Rihanna screaming, "They shooting at us." She pushed them to the ground. Then they ran toward the main house, toward their babies. 3 children under 4 behind walls that had just been in the line of fire. After firing, Ortiz climbed back into the Tesla, did not panic, drove over the hills toward the valley. But the LAPD helicopter had already locked on, and the detail that almost defies belief. The Tesla was tracked so quickly partly because it was absolutely filthy. 2,400 miles through 8 states without a car wash. One of the most identifiable vehicles in Los Angeles. Her disguise was a wig. Her getaway car was caked in desert dust. Arrested in the parking garage of the Sherman Oaks Galleria 30 minutes later. No incident. Inside the vehicle, they found exactly what you would expect from someone who planned this meticulously, and exactly what you would not expect from someone claiming innocence. The rifle, spent casings, the blonde wig, additional ammunition, a fully loaded 30-round magazine in the trunk. She came prepared for something far worse than what she executed. And now, that sentence, the one I told you about at the very beginning. In custody, she asked the detectives, "Can I say one sentence?" They let her, and she said, quote, "I would like to say that I was not attempting murder, but that is all I wanted to say," end quote. 20 rounds from an AR-15, a cross-country drive with a disguise and extra magazines, 3 toddlers in the home, and she told detectives she was not attempting murder. The prosecution is going to play that on a loop in front of a jury. It is simultaneously an admission she pulled the trigger and a denial of intent that no reasonable person will accept. Now, the courtroom. And this is where it gets legally explosive. March 10th, blue jail clothing. Deputy Public Defender Jamarcus Bradford enters a not guilty plea, then immediately withdraws it and requests a continuance. Translation: they saw the evidence, and they were not remotely prepared. March 25th, yellow jumpsuit. New attorney Derek Dillman. Not guilty to all 14 charges. 1 count attempted murder. 10 counts assault with a semi-automatic firearm. 3 counts shooting at an inhabited dwelling. Firearm enhancements on every single count. Dillman asked to reduce bail to $70,000 for a premeditated armed assault on a billionaire's home with toddlers inside. The audacity is staggering. Deputy DA Alexander Bott shut that down immediately and decisively. Quote, "This is the kind of conduct that could have easily resulted in multiple homicides," end quote. Judge McGonigal denied the reduction. 1.875 million stands. Ortiz stays locked up. Her California speech pathology license was revoked on the spot. April 8th is the next hearing. And what happens there could define this entire case. The defense will almost certainly push for a mental competency evaluation. Baker Act history. Total custody loss. Weeks of escalating delusional posts. Celebrity fixation. They will argue she was not rational and may seek to have her declared incompetent to stand trial, pausing everything. Or they go not guilty by reason of insanity. But the prosecution has premeditation. And premeditation is devastating. Weapon acquired. Ammo packed. Disguise prepared. A 34-hour drive. A neighborhood surveilled. She fired. She fled. Every element screams planning and awareness. The defense counters that planning does not equal sanity. A delusional person can be methodical in pursuit of a delusion. Both sides have legitimate legal arguments. That tension is what makes this trial one of the most explosive in California in years. DA Nathan Hochman called it willful, deliberate, and premeditated. If convicted on all counts, Ortiz faces life in state prison. Now, Rihanna. Because the human cost of this outweighs every legal argument. Sources described her as freaking out, terrified, grateful her family survived, shattered that her home was no longer safe. Within 24 hours, she left LA on a private jet with her entire family. 9 days later, TMZ cameras caught them in New York. 6 bodyguards. A physical wall. They moved like targets. Then Paris. Sienna restaurant. Composed for the cameras. But composed is not okay. Composed is the mask you wear when the world is watching and you cannot afford to let them see you break. She already had security. Gates. Cameras. A neighborhood where elevation makes every home a natural fortress. And none of it stopped a woman with a rifle from putting bullets in her gate while her toddlers were behind the wall. $1 billion could not buy safety. That lie died on Heather Road on March 8, 2026, and it is never coming back. Rocky told police he had dealt with a separate female stalker before. This family was already living in the shadow of parasocial obsession. And the internet. Oh, the internet. Within hours of the news breaking, the conspiracy machine detonated. Jay-Z's name started trending. The theory being Rihanna signed to Def Jam in 2005 under Jay-Z at 16, was Roc Nation for years, then distanced herself to build Finney and a family with Rocky. The internet saw a rupture. Layer conspiracy culture on top, and a lone shooter becomes evidence of orchestration. TikTok creators accumulated millions of views. Claims Ortiz tried contacting Jay-Z from jail. Claims Beyoncé called Rihanna suspiciously. None verified by LAPD or the DA. No additional suspects. Zero corroboration. I understand the impulse. A lone woman with a shattered mind driving across America feels random. Senseless. Humans reject chaos. Conspiracy means someone is in control, and control feels safer than randomness. But the evidence points to one woman, one mind, one fixation. If that changes, I will cover it immediately. And here is a detail that nearly got buried in all the noise. Don Lemon nearly became collateral damage. He had planned to visit a friend in Beverly Crest that day, but changed plans due to the LA Marathon. His friend's home sustained stray bullet damage. Another life inches from crossfire. So where are we now? Ortiz behind bars. 1.875 million bail. Not guilty to 14 felonies. Life if convicted. License gone. Her pending custody appeal now meaningless. LAPD is forensically extracting every byte from the Tesla. GPS routes, stops, timestamps, Sentry mode footage from the car's own cameras, phone records analyzed line by line, social media accounts forensically preserved. Rihanna has not spoken publicly. She does not owe us anything. She gave this world everything she had. Music that reshaped entire genres and rewired culture. A beauty empire that changed an industry. And she cannot sit in her driveway without fear. We say we value mental health intervention, responsible gun policy, safety. On March 8th, every single one of those claims was exposed as nothing more than performance. April 8th sets the timeline. Competency evaluations. Possible insanity defense. A trial asking 12 people whether a woman who planned for weeks and drove for days was too far gone to know what she was doing. Subscribe. Notifications on. I am covering every development. Share this with someone who only knows the headline version. Nobody caught the signs. Not platforms. Not gun laws. Not mental health systems. Not courts. Not algorithms. Nobody. That is the part that should haunt every single one of us. Take care of each other. Look after the people in your life. And if someone you know is showing signs that something is deeply wrong, do not wait for the system to respond. Do not assume someone else will make the call. Do not tell yourself it is probably nothing. Because on March 8th, 2026, the system had every piece of information it needed to prevent this. And it did absolutely nothing. Stay safe out there. Stay informed. And I will see you all on the next one.